Imagine scrolling through Etsy late at night. B. You see a listing.
Right. It's a completely basic Google Sheet budget tracker, and it's selling for $12 right now.
I mean, it has over 4,000 positive reviews.
Yeah, you look at it and feel this wave of total confusion. Then you feel an undeniable spike of pure jealousy.
Welcome to our deep dive into digital leverage. We are exploring a truly fascinating text today. It's Maxan's March 2026 guide. The title is Build and Sell Google Sheets Templates, AI System Guide.
This specific guide completely redefines the modern side hustle. It's not about knowing complex Excel formulas anymore. The entire landscape of digital products has fundamentally changed.
Our mission today is quite clear. We are exploring how to wield Claude Code effectively. We want to turn a single prompt into a market-ready asset.
Exactly. We're talking about generating scalable, passive revenue. And, the system requires absolutely zero physical inventory.
It really is a brilliant operational system. You build the digital asset one single time.
Yeah, and then you sell that exact same asset endlessly.
It's beat. Let's step back and reflect for a moment. We need to understand the psychology of the modern buyer first. Why are rational people paying money for blank spreadsheet cells?
That is the ultimate million-dollar question here. The digital product market has shifted dramatically recently. In March 2026, generic templates are basically invisible.
They've been replaced entirely by specialized tools. We're observing a massive shift toward AI-engineered utility.
Right. The core philosophical insight here is value-added convenience. Buyers are not actually purchasing rows and columns. They're not buying a simple grid of numbers.
They are buying their own cognitive bandwidth back. They're purchasing their own free time.
Right, and that time is incredibly valuable to them. They're paying to skip the heavy mental lifting. Building a professional-grade financial tracker is extremely tedious work.
It feels exactly like stacking Lego blocks of data. It takes immense patience and intense focus. You have to manually format every single cell.
Yeah, the visual layout alone takes hours to perfect. If a template saves a busy freelancer $50 of time.
Then a $15 price point is a totally logical choice. It represents an immediate, undeniable return on investment.
Exactly. It's a totally rational economic decision. People are outsourcing the initial friction of project setup.
It makes perfect sense when you frame it that way. But it begs a rather obvious question about consumer behavior. Beat. Why are people actually buying these instead of making their own?
Because starting a complex dashboard from scratch requires serious mental energy. It demands hours of intricate formula building.
They just want to skip the 5 hours of painful setup.
Yes, they are happily paying for immediate forward momentum.
2-sec silence. To reliably sell that convenience, you can't just guess blindly. You can't simply build whatever you personally want to track. You have to follow the actual market data.
That reality leads us directly into the preliminary research phase. This research phase is the actual competitive moat in 2026.
The true moat is not your technical spreadsheet skill anymore. Knowing how to write a nested VLOOKUP formula is largely irrelevant.
The AI handles the complex mathematical formulas now. The human advantage lies entirely in knowing what to ask for. You have to research what real people are already buying.
I want to push back on that slightly. How do we actually measure that demand accurately?
You start with highly targeted, specific Etsy searches. You look closely at the total review counts. You examine the original publishing dates of the listings.
Right. You are searching for steady, consistent demand over a long period.
There's also a fascinating analytical tool mentioned here. The guide highlights the Listing View plugin for this exact purpose.
Yeah, the Listing View plugin is incredibly helpful for creators. It actively scrapes the platform to check estimated monthly sales.
It clearly shows you the exact competition levels for specific niches.
So you find a highly profitable, successful spreadsheet. But we're not just copying existing bestsellers, are we?
No, you should absolutely never copy another creator directly. You must follow the golden differentiation rule instead. You find a foundational format that already works perfectly.
Then you surgically edit it for a very specific niche. Give me a concrete example of that surgical edit. How do we alter a popular financial framework?
Well, take the standard 50-30-20 personal budget dashboard. That allocates 50% for needs and 30% for wants. Then it leaves 20% for long-term savings.
That is a very classic, universally understood financial framework.
It's a heavily proven, undeniable market hit. But a generic version gets completely lost in the crowded marketplace. So you tailor it specifically for traveling digital nomads.
Or maybe you adapt it for freelance graphic designers. You adapt the specific spending categories to fit their unique lifestyles.
Exactly. A digital nomad cares about different expenses than a traditional employee. They need categories for international visas and co-working spaces.
That one small, thoughtful pivot creates a totally new product. Which leads me to wonder about market saturation. If a budget sheet is already a bestseller, how do we compete?
You intentionally avoid competing directly with the heavyweight champions. You analyze their successful underlying structure carefully. Then you adapt that exact structure to a highly specific, ignored audience.
Find a proven hit, then add one highly specific twist.
That's the undeniable winning formula for digital leverage.
2-sec silence. Once you have clearly identified that specific, profitable niche, the execution changes. But having a great niche is useless if you're manually typing cells. To truly scale, you have to hand the keyboard over to the AI.
Right, which requires crossing a massive technical moat. This technical gatekeeper scares a lot of casual creators away immediately.
But crossing it is where the real leverage begins. We are talking specifically about utilizing Claude Code.
The guide describes this software as an agentic environment.
Let me clarify that technical term for a moment. It is AI that can take actions, not just chat with you.
It represents a truly massive leap forward in software capabilities. Claude Code integrates natively with the Google Workspace API.
It can actually open your private sheets and build things autonomously.
The initial setup process takes about 30 to 45 minutes, and it requires interacting directly with the CLI.
Which means typing text commands to control your computer directly.
Yeah, you also have to configure an OAuth consent screen manually. You must do this inside the sprawling Google Cloud console.
Let's define OAuth simply so we stay grounded. It is a secure way to let apps talk to each other safely.
Right. You generate an OAuth client ID and a secret cryptographic key. You feed those secure credentials directly into the Claude environment.
Finally, you add your own email address as a verified test user. I have to make a vulnerable admission right here. I still wrestle with setting up API permissions myself.
Oh, man. You are definitely not alone in feeling that way. It feels deeply intimidating to navigate those developer menus.
The Google Cloud Console always feels slightly terrifying and overly complex. The inevitable error screens always look incredibly complicated and hostile.
It feels like giving the AI a VIP keycard to your Google Drive building, instead of walking it through the front door every single time.
That's a perfect analogy for the authentication process. And this initial difficulty is actually a beautifully hidden blessing.
Yeah, this frustrating setup phase is a remarkably strict gatekeeper. It really is a powerful filter for the marketplace.
It eliminates 90% of casual, unmotivated creators instantly. Most people simply give up at the very first command line prompt.
So if you manage to push through the frustration, you win.
Which makes me ask about the ultimate payoff. Why go through this complex 30-minute setup at all?
Because it grants you a massive, permanent technical advantage. Once it successfully connects, you automate the hardest parts of digital product creation. You never have to manually format a spreadsheet cell ever again.
It gives you a permanent production advantage over casual creators.
Precisely. You're playing a totally different, highly leveraged game now.
2-sec silence.
Yeah.
Now, Claude has the VIP keys to your Google Sheets workspace. You need to explicitly tell the agent what to build. But simply typing "make a budget sheet" is a massive operational mistake.
The prompt engineering phase requires serious thought and strict constraints. If you just type a basic, lazy request, you fail completely.
The guide explicitly calls that the vending machine prompt.
Yeah, if you treat the AI like a cheap vending machine, you get junk. You get a generic, low-value digital file that absolutely nobody wants.
You have to give Claude a high-fidelity visual benchmark instead. You accomplish this constraint by uploading a detailed screenshot.
You find a top-selling, beautiful financial tracker online. You take a crisp, high-resolution screenshot of their layout.
You upload that exact image as your core visual reference. Wait, so by uploading a screenshot, you are essentially putting guardrails on the AI.
Yeah. You're forcing it to match an aesthetic standard rather than letting it hallucinate. It provides incredibly strict spatial boundaries for the vision model.
It stops the AI from blindly guessing about column widths and row heights.
Right. The vision model analyzes the visual hierarchy and replicates the professional standard.
You are definitely not copying the creator's proprietary numbers. You're simply mirroring the established aesthetic standard of the marketplace.
Then you provide a highly detailed complementary text prompt. You explicitly ask for a completely different color scheme.
You ensure the final generated product remains totally original and distinct. You have to treat Claude like a junior creative assistant.
Exactly. You give it very clear, incredibly strict design constraints. And here is a truly wild, futuristic detail from the guide. You can actually run multiple Claude agents entirely in parallel.
Whoa, imagine running 5 agents building different dashboards at once. The sheer scale of that simultaneous output is genuinely mind-bending.
It scales your digital production to an absolutely insane level, while one agent tirelessly builds a complex wedding planner dashboard.
Another autonomous agent simultaneously builds a freelance tax tracker. That level of autonomous output is genuinely staggering to contemplate. It makes the strict reference image even more crucial. What exactly does uploading a reference image accomplish?
It anchors the sophisticated AI model directly to reality. It provides a visual standard, so the final layout actually looks remarkably professional.
It gives the AI a clear visual benchmark for polish.
It keeps the autonomous agents perfectly aligned with your vision. Okay, so the AI has successfully generated our highly detailed spreadsheet.
The structural layout looks visually stunning, but we are absolutely not ready to sell this file yet.
No, we are not even close to the final finish line. You have to aggressively stress test the extreme edges of the product.
AI-generated spreadsheets often look absolutely amazing at first glance. The carefully chosen colors are great. The automated data charts look highly professional.
But you must relentlessly test them like a truly chaotic user would. You absolutely cannot just trust the initial AI output blindly.
You need to intentionally input wild, extreme numerical values. The guide suggests setting your monthly rent to $10,000.
Or entering unusually high, completely unrealistic business revenue figures. You're intentionally trying to break the underlying mathematical formulas.
You want to see if the visual charts update correctly under pressure? You meticulously check the automated summary sections.
You verify the dynamically updating transactions log. Everything must shift perfectly when the foundational data shifts.
Right, and sometimes those fragile formulas will inevitably break. That is a completely normal part of the development process.
When a formula inevitably breaks, you treat it as a collaboration. You do not manually fix the broken formula yourself.
You go right back to the Claude Code terminal window. You explain the specific mathematical error clearly to the agent.
You ask the AI to write a functional adjustment. It's a continuous, iterative feedback loop.
You are refining the digital tool together in real time. Beat. Why do we need to test with bizarre numbers like $10,000 for rent?
Because real-life data from unpredictable users is incredibly messy. You must guarantee the complex formulas hold together when users input highly extreme values.
To ensure formulas do not break when real numbers change.
Yeah, you are ultimately selling reliable mathematical stability.
2-sec silence. The digital product is now totally bulletproof.
Sure.
The complex nested formulas work absolutely perfectly. But potential buyers can't actually see those invisible formulas.
No, they only see your visual online storefront listing. Packaging and visual presentation are critical components here.
A raw, boring spreadsheet screenshot simply does not sell on Etsy. It looks completely flat and totally uninspiring.
It lacks any real-world context. You absolutely need high-quality lifestyle mockups. The guide offers 2 highly effective tactical options for this crucial step.
Option 1 is slightly manual, but incredibly reliable. You simply download a free laptop mockup from FreePic.
Then you paste your screenshot into the file using Smart Objects. You execute this entire process inside Photopea,
Which is basically a totally free browser-based alternative to Adobe Photoshop.
It digitally places your spreadsheet directly onto a realistic laptop screen.
It makes the invisible digital file feel like a premium, tangible product.
Option 2 is completely AI-driven and incredibly fast. You use a specialized tool called Nano Banana Pro inside Google Flow.
Let's explore how that specialized tool actually works. It is a diffusion model that maps your raw pixels onto a simulated 3-dimensional surface.
It intelligently generates a ready-made AI mockup directly from your raw screenshot. It saves you a massive amount of tedious clicking and dragging.
Once you have the compelling images, you need persuasive listing copy. You can utilize the listing optimizer directly inside the listing view tool.
It analyzes top-performing listings and writes highly optimized sales copy. It deliberately hits all the right psychological conversion triggers for hesitant buyers.
Now, there's a very specific, brilliant delivery quirk here. You do not actually send the raw spreadsheet file to the buyer.
That's a truly fascinating logistical detail. You simply set the Google Sheet permissions to anyone with the link can view.
Then you create a very clean, simple PDF document. The buyer automatically receives this PDF immediately upon purchase.
Inside the PDF is the Secure View Only access link. It also includes short, clear instructions on how to duplicate the template safely.
The buyer just clicks the link provided in the document. They copy the master file directly to their own private Google Drive.
The commercial transaction is fully complete without any manual intervention. You never deal with complex file attachments or confusing version control issues.
It acts like an infinite digital fulfillment center. Let me clarify this final mechanical step for total clarity. How exactly do we physically deliver a Google Sheet to a buyer?
You deliberately avoid sending raw spreadsheet files entirely. You provide a secure, view-only link bundled inside a very simple instruction PDF document.
Send a simple PDF with a link to duplicate it.
That elegant mechanism is the entire automated delivery system.
2-sec silence. Let's pull back for a moment and reflect. Let's look at what this entire system truly represents broadly.
The spreadsheet itself is honestly just the humble beginning. This is really a profound story about creating asymmetrical leverage.
You find exactly what people are already actively buying. You use advanced AI tools to create a much stronger, superior version.
You completely bypass all the tedious, soul-crushing manual labor. You systematically build a permanent library of valuable digital assets.
And those digital assets consistently generate reliable passive income. They quietly sell while you're sleeping or spending time with family.
It fundamentally shifts how we assign value to our limited time. You are totally decoupling your financial income from your daily working hours.
I genuinely want you to think carefully about your own life. Look closely at your highly repetitive daily organizational tasks. Do you have a personal tracking system you use constantly?
Maybe you use a detailed weekly meal planner, or a customized fitness and workout tracker, or a specialized freelance client invoice manager.
Ask yourself if an AI-built template could solve those problems better. And maybe, just maybe, that personalized template could even sell online.
The traditional barrier to entry has quite literally never been lower. Once you successfully clear that one frustrating technical setup, you are completely free.
It beat. It really makes you wonder deeply about the near future. We have already automated the building, the visual packaging, and the listing generation.
Yeah, the heavy lifting is completely outsourced to the AI.
2-sec silence. If Claude can build a tool, package the mockup, and write the listing today, what happens tomorrow when the AI learns to autonomously identify market demand and update the storefront all by itself? Out to your own music.